Okay, beautiful. So Sish, if you could take a lovely big deep breath in for me just to start. And out, lovely. And then one more in your own time. Perfect, so for today we're going to start with a cleanse. And then we're going to go straight into our neck and shoulder massage and then up onto the face. I think we're going to incorporate a little bit of gua sha just for the lymphatic drainage. And then we're going to take that oil off and pop on some serum and then go under the LED. And while that's on, we're going to do a beautiful hand massage if that sounds good. Amazing. So to start, I'm going to do an oil cleanse using the Halo Cleanser by Nini Organics. And this is really gentle, but still really effective at getting off all of the SPF and the London grime. I'm just going to lift up from the neck all the way to the forehead. I'm working both sides of the nose and then scooping round. And we're just lifting up the neck. And then working both on top and below on the jaw. And we can just focus on our breathing while we're working through this section. So we can try some box breathing. So we can breathe in for 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to hold at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then releasing for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again pausing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Big breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then holding. 1, 2, 3, 4, and releasing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then returning to our natural breath. And just settling back into that natural rhythm. It can be really nice when we're trying to decompress before bed, just to even simply elongate that out breath. To help us relax and switch off from the busy day we've all had. Amazing. Take our first set of mitts and remove that oil cleanse. And just taking that warmth and hovering it over and landing on the chest and working out. And lifting up the neck and then up the face. Beautiful. And starting from the center of the chest and working out. I'm just trying to introduce my touch. I'm not working too deep into the muscles yet, just spreading that oil and warming up the area. Looking from one side to the other. Just trying to find a flow between movements. Using that downwards pressure and helping us to sink deeper into the bed. And finding that relaxation and being able to switch our minds off. And pushing down on the shoulders and almost using like a cat, pushing away one after the other. And using the shoulders to rotate and come back into center. And we can start deepening that pressure by using my knuckles. And then using those knuckles over the deltoids and up the back of the trapezius as well. Again, always creating circles so each knuckle joins each other as they rotate. And using my thumb just to keep me grounded and centered as I travel all the way back to behind the ears. Perfect. Using one hand and then the other, scooping and picking up from behind the neck. Creating a nice elongated stretch here and then traveling together and hooking into the occiput. Again, gently circling here just with my fingertips and then allowing those circles to travel up from the base of the ears to the top. And then continuing that into the scalp. Starting again from the center of the chest, rotating in, and then forming those knuckles, and again circling over the pectorals. And then the deltoids. Can feel really nice to work into this area, especially if you've been typing all day. And then up into the trapezius. And then trying to push my energy down into the bed so I can sink further and get any knots or crunchy bits that might be hanging out there. And again, stretching the neck and circling around the occiput. And then behind the ears. And into the scalp once more. Applying gentle pressure down the center part. And using my body weight to rock in to apply pressure and rock out to release. And this can feel really grounding. And it can be nice when we're working at the top of the head to send our thoughts and our energy down to the tips of our toes. And you can feel that contrast. And then again, gentle wave from one shoulder all the way across to the other. Not applying that pressure from the wrist all the way to the fingertips. And then doing peace fingers either side of the collarbones and gently draining out towards the shoulders. Again, pushing down one side and then the other. And scooping all the way round for one last head hold. And just pausing here a moment. Before releasing and lowering back down into the bed. Taking both hands and applying firm but gentle pressure and travelling down the whole of the scalp. And then gently, just with feather-like fingertips, brushing from the centre out to the shoulders. Amazing. And then taking our oil and spreading that to start our facial massage. And again, lifting up from the collarbone to behind the ears. Just creating a really nice stretch and an opening. And using my whole body weight, so rocking forward and then pulling back to get the strength within the stretch. And then lifting up onto the face and now coming in front of the ears. And again, rocking backwards and forwards. Elongate that stretch. And then focusing on the masseter. And really lifting that muscle up and then releasing. This is often an area where people hold tension. Be nice to spend a little bit of time here and work at it from different angles. So just gently tilting my hands and then trying the other direction as well. And then just like I was playing a piano scale, I'm going to work all the way in and then all the way back out again. And just trying to keep a really nice consistent rhythm. And then when I'm back in centre, I'm going to scoop underneath the chin and lift up towards myself. And then up and over the chin. And working the depressor of the lower lip. And then tilting my hands out, following Risorius. Corner of the lips out towards the ears. And then creating big circles. Using the whole of my hand all the way from the wrist to the fingertips. And then flowing from one side to the other. And then back into my circles. And now bringing that same stretch but up on a diagonal. And creating that opening in the face. And trying to release each individual muscle group. And then working the levator of the upper lip. And then releasing that and returning. Hooking in underneath the zygomatic arch and just applying that gentle pressure, which is lifting up towards myself. Again, using my weight to rock back and forwards. And then when I'm ready, traveling slightly further out and repeating. And then once more, until I feel like there's nothing else to grip onto. And then I'm going to open the face once more. And I can repeat this, so hooking in and under. And this is really lovely if you have any sinus congestion, or you're really looking to make your cheekbones pop. And now coming to work over the temples. Again, lifting up and out towards the hairline. And then circling around the eyes. And then changing direction. And light pressure under the eyes and slightly firmer as we go out and over the brows. And working out over frontalis. Stretching on a diagonal here. And then lifting straight up towards myself as well. Next, anchoring in the center. And working out over the brows. Using quite a firm pressure here. This is often an area that can become tense as we furrow our brow. And using my thumb as an anchor to increase that stretch. And then working all the way out towards the ear. And then doing the same on the other side, so anchoring myself in place and then stretching halfway. And then the other half. And then working all the way up the forehead until I get to the hairline. And next, taking my index fingers and then just creating a yin and yang stretch. A little counter stretch and then release. And just working systematically in lines all the way up and then all the way back down. And then when I'm nearly finished, I'm going to start with my 1,000 hands, working from the third eye all the way to my fingertips, and then replacing with my next hand. And always aiming for it to feel like as soon as one finishes, the next begins. And we can do this in a different direction, so working out and then also working up towards myself. Perfect. We can drain all the way down onto the chest. And then gently turning to the left side. You can come to work on a diagonal here, so I'm pulling up towards myself. And creating a really nice stretch in the neck. And can come both in front and behind the ear, and come all the way into the scalp. And just gently gliding, and then bringing that same energy all the way around onto the face. And I'm going to come to the side here and start working across the brow and under the eye. And just traveling out towards the ear, gently draining. You can also do this over the forehead. And then under the cheekbone, parting at the ear and draining down behind. You can use both hands or one at a time and just paddle out, and then drain around the ear and down. Using one hand, I can travel up from the jaw and then follow with the other. And again, draining out towards the ear. I can then take my gua sha and again bring it behind and then draining down. And just finding that nice stretch and keeping as much of the stone in contact as I can. Just helping that lymph to drain, assisting in the detoxification process. And then working under the jaw, and I'm just gently waving. Really subtle pulsing motion through the tool. and then draining down. Again, gentle wave followed by a little shelf I'm creating with my fingertips, and then draining all the way down. And then lifting up, using a slightly different section of the tool now, and then following again with my flat hand, working out along the jawline all the way to the ear. And then using the longest side of the tool to glide all the way up to temples. And down again. And taking the corner of the tool and hooking in and under the cheekbone, just like I was doing with my fingertips earlier. And again, gently lifting up. And working under the eye. And then onto the temples. And using that flat edge of the tool again to work up over the brows and stretch into the hairline. And just gently wiggling that into the hairline for that extra release. And then again, draining down the neck. And placing the tool on the other side. And then again, working around the shoulder. And then up either side of the ear into the hair. Be nice here just to spend a moment working into the scalp. And just applying a firm but gentle pressure. And then both hands can start shampooing. And again, those little circles. Beautiful, slowly coming back to center. I'm going to lift and land. Once I've done a few grounding moves from the center of the chest all the way out to the shoulders, and then that pull up to behind the ears. And ready to lift and lower to the other side. Perfect again with that stretching from the shoulders all the way up the neck. coming either side of the ears. And we lift into the hairline. Okay, beautiful. And then just applying a little bit more oil, and again lifting up and going either side of the ear. And just creating a nice stretch here, one hand and then the other. Lifting from center out and up. And then up onto the face. And working either side of the jaw. And stretching out towards the ears. And then draining down the neck. And you can use 2 fingers here just to paddle up towards myself. And then out. Looking either side of the lip, stretching all the way towards the ears. And following again with that flat hand. And scooping up underneath the zygomatic arch. And then releasing. Can follow with a flat hand all the way from chin to temples. And always just trying to create space and release. And lifting up over the forehead. And then coming to the side of the bed and just stretching either side of the eye. And placing one and then the other and traveling together. Again, draining all the way out. And letting the whole of my hand rest. And here doing the same thing over the brows. One and then the other. I can use the whole of my hand as I travel down. And then working along the cheekbone. Paddling all the way up to the ear, travelling either side and draining down. And using one hand and then following with a little shelf all the way out along the jaw and draining to behind the ear. And circling back round and up. And then using our gua sha, working from behind the ear and draining down towards the armpits. Again, working along the jawline. And then down. And draining down behind the ear. And working up onto the face, lifting. And then taking the flat side of my tool and coming all the way up to temples. And draining back down before we can hook underneath the cheekbone. And lifting up towards myself. And holding for just a moment in each spot. And then working underneath the eye. Again, gentle wave. And up over temples. And lifting up towards myself. And draining down from behind the ear. And then again using both hands to travel up all the way into the hairline. Again, shampooing that gentle pressure and working into the occiput. And then both hands at once. Pressure coming through my fingertips. And just circling. And combing through. Before we come back up to center. A 1,000 hands over the third eye. And gentle circles over both temples. And coming up and holding here on the brows. And then releasing. Final drains before we remove the oil. And taking our mitts and just hovering that warmth, landing on the chest. And lifting all the way up. Perfect. We're going to use our rose mist. Allowing that to land. And then taking our Crimson Beauty Serum by Nini Organics. And just gently pressing this in. I'm going to take 2 cotton pads and just place them over the eyes and followed by our goggles. And then I'm going to get our LED. I'm gently going to lift our LED over. We're using the red light today, which promotes skin cell turnover and healing. Perfect, so just warming up a little bit of balm in my hands and then coming to spread that all the way up the forearms. Working one side and then the other. And starting by rotating on the wrist. And then creating gentle cross frictions. Rotating around the thumb, pulling all the way to the fingertips. And then starting again with each finger, rotating clockwise and anti-clockwise. Gentle pressure and a gentle pull. One way and then the other. And last 2. And then draining down all the way to the wrist. And opening out the hand. Holding the hand and turning, interlocking, and then working into the palm. And then stretching out, opening, and creating some space. And then working down the forearm on the inside, so circling and pulling back. And finishing some gentle affleurage. And then wrapping the hand to take off any excess balm. And then doing the same on the other side. Working over the wrist and down the forearm. Circling and creating frictions. And using the whole of my hand to work over the thumb, so circling and a gentle pull all the way to the fingernail. And rotating each finger in turn. A gentle pull, not trying to click anything. Just applying pressure. And draining down between the bones. And lifting the hand up. And working into the palm. And creating cross frictions. And then up. And working down the arm. And coming back. And a gentle stroke from the elbow all the way to fingertips. And wrapping and compressions. Beautiful, and then just grounding after the light. And we're going to finish with our night cream and lip mask for sleep. Again, gliding all the way from the base of the neck up to the forehead and then scooping around and down. And again, thinking about returning to our breath. And just increasing that exhale every time. Taking the tiniest amount of our lip mask. And just gently applying that with a Q-tip. Perfect. If you could press your lips together for me, Sisha. Beautiful. And then one deep breath in and exhaling out.